is it possible that two forces act on an object while it is moving and be in equilibrium? How do we know that is possible? So take a very simple situation. We have our mysterious object sliding along the floor, but let's say that the floor in this case has friction. I can just introduce friction. We haven't discussed friction in detail. We'll do that shortly, but you all know what is friction. When two surfaces are in contact, when they try to move over each other, the two surfaces resist the motion, and that is what is friction. Okay, so it's a force. Now let's say that there is a force that is acting on this object to make it move. Now, 2-3 different things are possible. So when I first start applying a force on an object, I may not succeed in pushing it. That depends really upon some factors, friction being one of the most important one. Actually, it's just friction, but anyway. And if I keep increasing the force, at one point of time, I start moving the object, okay, and then I can apply a lot of force and move it quickly across, or I can apply a steady amount of force and keep it sliding at uniform speed. Okay, so it's moving in a straight line at uniform speed. So the question that was just asked by one of you is a good question, a pertinent question. You said, I can see that you're pushing the object with a force using your fingers, but you say for dynamic equilibrium or for an object to be moving while multiple forces are being applied, there has to be another force. Where is the other force? Well, the other force is friction. And what friction does is it always acts in the direction opposite to the movement of the object. Okay, so the red arrow represents the force with which I am pushing, let's say, and the blue arrow represents the force of friction between the object and the surface on which it is resting. Now, if the object is moving in a straight line, and uniform speed, right? Then what is sigma f equal to? So that is the first question. So what would you say your answer is?
I have a question, but I can ask it later also.
First you answer my question, then you can ask your question.
It's a question regarding your question.
What?
So we're using you said straight line uniform speed.
Yeah.
So are we using the mystery box as a reference? Like
yeah.
with the floor friction?
It is related to the mystery box, yes. Not the water bottle.
Okay.
But you can also tell it in terms of the water bottle. So people have started replying in the chat. So the answer is
0.
0. Okay. So sigma f is equal to 0. Why do you say sigma f is equal to 0? Because according to first law, if an object is moving in a straight line path, that means it's not changing direction and it is going at a uniform speed, then there cannot be any net force acting on it. Okay. Mind you, there are forces acting on it. There is a force of friction. If you continue to move the object along the surface, it's going to heat up. And if it cannot radiate that heat outward, it can heat up and become so hot that it can melt. It will happen. There's a force that you are applying, I am applying on this water bottle. If I keep applying this force for eternity, I'll get very tired, right? I'll sweat, my muscles will get worn out. I might even die of dehydration. So forces are being applied, but there is no net force acting on the object. We are concerned only about the object. Okay, this is a situation in which two forces are acting, they are equal and opposite. The object is moving, okay, and the object will continue to move as long as these two forces are acting on it. So in this case, sigma f is equal to 0, but the object is moving. Now please, even though you have read it and you may think you've got the situation, this situation is what we know as dynamic equilibrium. Okay, we have seen static equilibrium. Static equilibrium is easy to understand. An object is kept over here, no net forces is acting on it, its state of rest does not change, so therefore it's easy to understand. Static equilibrium is piece of cake, anybody gets it. The real deal is dynamic equilibrium. And you will trip up on this again and again and again. We'll come across dynamic equilibrium situation several times, but if you don't recognize it as dynamic equilibrium situation, then you will not be able to answer questions accurately. Doesn't matter. That is the whole point of answering questions. When it confuses you, when it distorts your sense of what is happening, that's when you know you are going to learn something. So you have to push ahead and understand things a little bit. I'll talk about one more situation where dynamic equilibrium can occur, but before that, let's hear a couple of questions.
Sir, I have a question.
Please ask.
Sir, so equilibrium is when, so in this case, the F1 and the friction is equal.
Are equal and opposite, yes.
And opposite.
Yeah, and opposite. So doesn't, if, sir,
Go on. I'm listening.
oh, sorry. I couldn't hear you, so I thought you went. So, the friction, sir, if the friction is equal and opposite to the F1, then it should stop the object from moving. Why is the object moving? Because of the F1 in that direction.
Aristotle.
What?
I have to say, where were you, Aristotle? So think carefully. The object is moving, right? I can say that over here, when I push this object with uniform velocity in a straight line, if you imagine that to be like uniform velocity in a straight line, right? Now, is this condition true? Is it going in a straight line? Well, I just told you it's going in a straight line. So it must be going in a straight line.
Yes, it is.
The uniform, if there is the speed of the object uniform, it's not speeding up,
Yes.
going down. So if these two situations are true, therefore sigma f is also equal to 0, which is equilibrium.
Sir,
Wait.
so it's,
Okay, so now, but what you're saying over here is, I know what you're talking about. This is where our Aristotle, the little Aristotle, the Homo Lucus is dancing in our head. Okay, but he's jumping up and down saying, look at this. Forget about this. I don't know what this is. This is some idea. Look at the fact. Friction is there. But if friction is there, then it should stop. If friction is equal to the force F1, then that should stop.
yeah.
Yeah, it can. I'm not saying that that's not a possibility. So if I'm pushing this, the force, I am pushing it. I can feel it in my finger now. But the thing is that the friction, the force that I'm applying and the friction that is being applied in the opposite direction are equal and opposite. So it's not moving. I do a little bit more and I start again. Right? So the object is moving now, but there is a force with which I'm pushing it. I'm feeling that force in my fingertip. That force is the friction in the opposite direction. I can say that those two forces are equal and opposite to one another, but the object still moves.
Sir,
Okay?
It's not possible, sir.
Why is it not possible? So the thing is, our understanding of the situation, as we are looking at it from our Aristotelian brains, and the fact that there is a study done of it, Newton did it, and he gave the first law of inertia. And he said an object, if it has no net force acting on it, then neither its straight line motion can change nor can its speed change. So you agree with me that when I push an object, it can go in a straight line and it can go with uniform speed. But then when I say, therefore sigma f is equal to 0, that means there is no net force acting on it. Then you say, but how can that be? If there is no net force, then the object should stop. My question is, and the question you should ask yourself is, if there is no net force, why should the object stop? And what is that characteristic of that object which will keep it moving then? That is the question. Yes, somebody else wanted to say something.
Yeah. So like I think of it as like
So first, when you try to move an object, you need to apply force greater than the friction, and then it will move.
Yeah, just a
But
bit.
then, yeah, but then if you then apply equal force, equal and opposite force to the friction,
Yeah,
then the friction and the your force cancels out. But then the initial force which you have applied
yeah.
is working, right? So it keeps moving and nothing's happening to it.
Correct.
Inertia of the object.
Exactly. The inertia of the object will keep it moving because there is no force to stop it. Friction can stop it, but it will stop it only if you remove the initial force, the F1.
Inertia and dynamic equilibrium are interrelated.
Inertial equilibrium and dynamic equilibrium are related, yes. It can work both ways. The rest situation is something we can easily understand, but the dynamic equilibrium situation is something that people find tricky to understand. It is tricky. You haven't seen the last of it. You will trip over your Aristotelian self again and again, but it's okay. More number of times we come across it, the more sure we can be. I'll talk about one more situation if you don't mind. Does anybody else want to say anything before I start?
Yeah.
Yes, go ahead.
Sir, so if suppose someone gives me a question
Yeah,
in which I have to tell the sigma f,
yeah.
and if they've mentioned that it's in a straight line and uniform speed, those are the only two factors I need to know that it's sigma f is equal to 0.
Absolutely right.
Okay.
Okay. So another situation through which we can understand the situation of dynamic equilibrium is raindrops falling from the sky. Okay, so it's raining all over India, so it's a pertinent topic to take up. We have a raindrop, it's raining and raindrops are falling from the sky. Okay, they don't fall vertically downward straight like this, but it's okay, we'll take it like that. And for want of a scale at which things are, this is the scale at which things are. Okay, now let's say that on average the distance from the raindrop down to the earth is a speed of about 1 kilometer. Okay, on average. A raindrop's mass, any idea? Make a guess. 1 gram?
Yeah.
Average
Yeah.
raindrop.
1 gram. Let's just keep it as 1 gram. We'll have to find out all these things, but we'll see. You see, when a raindrop leaves the cloud and it starts falling downwards, each drop is increasing its speed at a certain rate. We know that there is gravity, so therefore the raindrop's velocity will keep increasing. If you think about it, every second that the raindrop falls, its speed increases by a factor of about 10 meters per second. Okay, so when it falls 1 kilometer, we'll do the maths a little bit later in the chapter following the next chapter. But it so happens that by the time the raindrops come down to you, can you guess what I'm going to say?
Yeah, it moves at the same speed. It moves at a uniform speed.
It's not really a. Yeah, exactly. It moves at a uniform speed.
It's a fact that it moves at uniform speed by the time it comes to you. The question is, why does it do that? The other thing is that when it falls 1 kilometer and it's increasing its speed by 10 meters per second every second, 10 meters per second, that's like roughly the speed of Usain Bolt in 1 second.
Then why does it equal out?
No, if it does not equal up, then the drops are going to be moving at such a high velocity that it can puncture
It will hurt.
it can puncture your skull. You could die. Human or any other kind of life form would never have evolved on Earth if raindrops fell with just the gravitational attraction. So actually what happens is, as a raindrop starts to fall, there's 5 more minutes, so I'll try to wrap this up. As the raindrop falls down to the earth, incidentally, raindrops are not teardrop shaped like this, as they are shown sometimes. Raindrops are spherical or ovoid. When raindrops fall downwards towards the earth, what happens is, luckily for us, there is air resistance. Okay, now as the raindrop falls faster and faster, there is the air resistance that keeps building upon it. Anybody who stuck your hand out of the window of a car slightly when going on a highway, don't try this. It's dangerous. Right? You will find that if you tilt your hand upward a little bit, the wind catches it and lifts it up. Have you felt that?
Sir, I've done that.
Sir.
Or anybody even going
Like
on
the way kites fly, kind of.
On the highway, like
just a
I
moment.
went on the
Just a moment. So now what is happening is the raindrop is being pulled down by the force of gravity. Somebody just told me it's about 3.8 grams, not 1 gram. So it's even more dangerous in that sense. Okay, so there is a force of gravity that is acting downwards, and there is a resistance due to the wind that occurs in the opposite direction. Okay, so this is your wind resistance. Now, as the object speeds up, as the raindrop falls further and further downwards, the wind resistance keeps increasing. Right? So what is the maximum value to which the wind resistance can increase? Well, the wind resistance, of course, there are some situations in which the wind resistance can go beyond mg, so then the water droplet will start going upwards. But at one point of time, the resistance becomes equal to the weight of the water droplet. Now you might imagine, if you think Aristotelian, that the water droplet will then get suspended midair. But of course, that's not going to happen. When the wind resistance is equal to the weight of the water droplet, then you have dynamic equilibrium. Dynamic equilibrium does not mean the water droplet comes to rest. What happens is, by its inertia, it will continue to fall. So thank goodness it happens very early as it starts falling from the, because the atmosphere is quite thick in that sense when you consider it in terms of fluid motion. When the water droplet falls through, the wind resistance becomes equal to the weight quite early on. And the acceleration of the water droplet stops at that point. After that, it falls at uniform velocity till it comes and hits you, the windshield of your car, your dog, and whatnot. Thank God, if dynamic equilibrium were not there, no life would have been possible on this very rainy planet. Okay, so that's another situation involving dynamic equilibrium. Think about these things. We will meet next class for next unit on moving Earth. I'm going to send you an assignment. I'm going to send you an assignment after this class that needs to be completed by next class. It's just 6 questions from RCQ. Do your best and submit it before the next class. Thank you.